Thanks for joining us here at VC2, where we are real people meeting real needs with the reality of Christ. If you ever have any questions or you'd like to learn more about us as a church, you can always check us out online by simply going to live.vc2online.com. Or we'd love for you to stay even more connected throughout your week and everywhere you go with the VC2 app. You can download it wherever you get your apps from. Today we're starting a new series entitled PG, Parental Guidance Needed. During this three-part series, we'll be discussing the need and practicalities of parenting the generations to come and how each generation must be involved together for us to see revival sustained. In this second message, we heard from Tori, the youth and prayer leader here at VC2. During today's message, she spoke on redeeming your youth and how God uses our time to prepare us. Now, here is week 2 of our series, PG.
Good morning. I am honored to be speaking today. I knew this was on the calendar since January of this year, and I have looked at it. I just flip in my calendar and just look at it, and then I flip back, and then a few months passed, and I looked at it, and I was like, ooh, that's getting close. And then this past week, Josiah goes, you're speaking Sunday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. My bad. Also, I'm trying not to do that anymore, so anyway. Good morning. If you need the notes, you can go to live.vc2online.com, but I would tell you this, good luck. All right. We are currently in a series, PG, Parental Guidance Needed, and if you didn't get to hear last week when Reggie Joyner was with us, you really need to go online, watch the multicast, and he spoke on not only why kids matter, because we know kids matter, but how to act like kids matter. And that's the thing. Because anyone in this room, pretty much everybody in this room can just agree kids matter, right? Yeah, okay. But just saying it isn't enough. And then next week, you get to hear Pastor Chad and Pastor Melinda talk on raising kids. And as a product of that, you're going to want to be here. But today, we're going to talk about PG-13. We are going to talk about the teens. And I joked with Josiah, and just know I'm not going to do this, but I had to mention it, that because it's PG-13, that means I get one F-bomb. I think that is the stupidest rating system in the world that they allow that in a movie, but just wanted you guys to know that. So here it goes. Ready? Friendship. That's my F-bomb. There you go. I joked that I was going to do the message with only one F word in the whole thing, but I can't do that, so there's too many 4s. Anyway, I'm excited because this is kind of if you ever talk to me about this, I'll go on a long rant, I'll jump up on a soapbox, because if I said that today we're going to talk about how to reach the next generation and you immediately thought millennial, you are wrong. Millennials are currently adults, and most have families and children. So I just want you guys to know that. I am talking about Generation Z. They are 18 and younger right now, and they're also called the plugged-in gen, because this generation has never known life without a smartphone, has no concept of VHS or DVD, most know music and the movies purely through downloads. Though there are some, the older ones do know Redbox and they have some DVDs, but I'm just saying they're totally fine with renting a movie by going to Apple or using streaming services like Netflix or just doing stuff off the Xbox. To reach a generation, we have to understand a generation, and we have to understand that where they're at is not where we were. And when they are our age, the next generation won't be where they were. I mean, who knows how many years it'll be before we have self-driving cars now. So it's not that far in the future, guys. So good luck with all of you who have control issues. That's going to be a great time in your life. But the thing about it is, the reason I showed you that is because I wanted you to kind of grasp their thinking is not the way we thought. And if we try to reach them with the way we thought things worked, you're not going to get it. Amen. I have a few statistics that I found really, really interesting, so I'm going to go through these real quick. So Gen Zers use, on average, 5 screens. That's a smartphone, a television, a laptop, a desktop, and an iPad/iPod. Usually, they can use 3 or more at one time. The average attention span of a Gen Z is 8 seconds versus 12 seconds of a millennial. Daily, daily Gen Zers watch 2 to 4 hours of YouTube, and they can watch way more than that, versus 1 hour of traditional television. 76 of Gen Zers in high school hope to turn their hobby into a full-time career. They prefer private media platforms like Snapchat or Whisper rather than open forums like Facebook. And they're twice as likely to delete their Facebook account. 79% of Gen Z consumers display symptoms of emotional distress when kept away from their personal electronic devices. Now, don't laugh too hard, because if I take away some of your phones for a day, let's see how you respond. But this is the one that kind of shook me. Out of the top 10 most influential heroes listed by Generation Z, only one was a traditional movie star / celebrity. The rest were people who Gen Z considered real, like them. They were YouTubers and Snapchat personalities. And that you may be like, well, that's not out of those, like, that's not really surprising. But see, the thing about it is, to me, that screamed of what they want. They are done with the falsities. They are done with the glamour and glitz of Hollywood, and they want something real. Yeah. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of YouTube, or if you watch a lot of bloggers, or if you have active on Snapchat, but the thing about it is, those people just talk about their life. And sometimes, yeah, it's glamorous if they follow people like Kim Kardashian or some other YouTubers who made it big. But the thing about it is, a lot of them is just the day-to-day activities. It's what they're doing, it's what they're eating, it's who they're meeting. And Gen Z loves seeing this real side of life. They love seeing, and it's not a very real, accurate depiction, but it is something that they consider real. It's people who have acne. It's people who just look normal like them. And they need something real. They long for genuine life and genuine relationships. For years, the church's approach has been one of two things: entertain them until they're grown up and can handle it, or simply waits until they're already adults and they're more manageable. But if we wait, the damage is already done. Because if you think about it, I'm sure everyone in this room can point back to something that happened when they were 10 or when they were 14 or when they were 16, and that event has been what happened in the rest of your life. It has been the stumbling block that you've been overcoming. You may have already overcome it. It may be the thing that Jesus healed you from. It may be the very thing you're still working to get through. If we wait until they're adults, they already have a crumbling foundation. The thing about the teenage years is it's supposed to set your foundation. The school system knows that what happens then sets the course for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's right.
We know that, but we haven't acted like it. We've just acted like, well, we can just survive until they're old enough to understand. I wasn't going to talk about this, but did you know that by 6th grade, most students are sexually active? We keep thinking it's a high school thing. It's a middle school thing. By 9, a child has seen porn for the first time. You can't wait until they're old enough to understand, because they're understanding long before you think they're ready.
That's right. That's right.
Do we want them to have strong foundations? We prayed about that generation that's rising up. I can see a generation rising up. And yet we waited until they were already grown to say, why didn't you turn out the way we thought you should? We have to wake up and realize that the church is not called to entertain. We're not called to entertain you, and we're not called to entertain teens.
Amen.
Teens and preteens need more than entertainment from the church. They are searching for that authentic, that real, that genuine life. And if they don't find it here, they're going to keep looking until they find it where they want to.
Yeah, that's right.
There are communities that are outside of the church that put on a facade of acceptance. And that do. They grab the attention of a generation because they've said, we'll love you. There are communities that are so connected, but they're not leading them into a godly direction. But they're latching on because they find something that is at least real to them.
That's right.
The worst thing you can do is show them that faith isn't real, that this isn't real.
Yeah.
And the way we do that is when our actions don't meet our words. When you go home, and you've heard Pastor Chad talk about this, where you're at church and everything is sunshine and roses, and you get home and it's all anger and frustration and just slap down meanness. What is slap down? And the thing is, when you give them that message, when you say God is love but show them hate, and I'm not talking about just your kids, I'm talking about when you talk down about a generation and say, oh, these heathens, these hooligans, these...
Come on.
I was about to say willy whackers, but no. But when you talk about them and you say, look at them, why aren't they good? And they hear that and they say, wow, this is your love? Yeah. And then they look and say, wow, that must be fake.
Yep.
And they're already getting that from media. They don't need your help. They really don't need your help. They see things like Westboro Baptist. They see things like protests that don't say love, they just say hell. And they don't need any more help with that. They just need to know if someone cares.
That's right.
So what's the truth? If we're not called to entertain, what's the truth? And I really asked God not to be so hard with me on this because I was like, Lord, I want to get up there and I want it to be like encouraging, but then my notes, and then I was like, oh, this is kind of hard, but I'm okay. I'm just going to do it because you told me to. So what's the truth? What is the real thing that the church is called to do? Because if it's not entertain, if it's not just survive, what is the thing the church is called to do? And immediately you could all say, oh, go and make disciples and baptize in the name. Okay, but are we just baptizing adults? Is that? Is it go and make disciples of adults? Because he said all nations. Is all nations adults? Okay, that's not where I was going anyway, but there you go. Titus. Titus tells us exactly what the church should be doing. And it's Titus 2, 1 through 9. And I'm not going to apologize for reading a long passage of scripture, but I am going to cough. Okay. But as for you, teach what accords with sound doctrine. Older men are to be sober-minded, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith, in love, and in steadfastness. Older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers, or slaves to too much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so train the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind and submissive to their own husbands, and that the word of God may not be reviled. Likewise, urge the younger men to be self-controlled. Show yourself in all respects to be the model of good works, and in your teaching show integrity, dignity, and sound speech that cannot be condemned, so that the opponents may be put to shame, having nothing evil to say about us.
Amen.
I think it's very clear that young men are to be trained by old men and young women are to be trained by old women, or older, if you prefer that. And it's very clear that what this whole passage is about is training in conduct, so that nothing can be said to condemn them. We are condemning a generation right now.
Yeah.
With our words, with our thoughts. We are condemning. I have been condemning a generation in my mind. We are called to do real training. Amen. In character. All these things it mentioned, it's about the character of the person. It's setting that strong foundation so that they can build upon it. Yep. But see, something happened. While we were busy trying to entertain, media began to train. Yep. And now all we want to do is complain about the generation they raised. We gave up our job so that we could be more like them.
That's right.
And the problem is, why would we want to be like them? They already had their attention, and so by changing to be like them, we just joined the noise.
That's right. Come on.
And so they saw, they're just like this, except something's wrong. It's not that it's weird. It doesn't feel genuine because it wasn't.
That's right.
We weren't called to entertain, so when we do it, we look funny.
Yeah. That's right.
The silliest thing to me is when a Christian company tries to take a popular idea that was in the secular world and Christianize it, and then you get games like Noah that's for like the Xbox, and it's just bad quality, and no one wants to play it, and it just looks bad.
Yeah.
And we were so busy trying to be like them that we just got weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't want that. They didn't need it. They wanted something real. You know what we have to offer that's real? Hope, love, grace, mercy, a second chance. But we gave up our offerings. We gave up our trainings. Thank you. We gave up what we were supposed to do. And we said, okay, you take it. And then we looked at them and said, why aren't you right? Do you know where a 13-year-old goes when he has questions about relationships or marriage? He looks at movies. He looks at what television says a healthy relationship is. He goes to his friends and asks them what a relationship is supposed to look like. Do you know what a young girl does when she's wondering what she should look like? What's healthy? Do you know what she does when she wants to know how to be a good friend? What she should do about this party? Is it okay to drink? Is it okay to do that? Is it okay to, just a little bit? She looks at what's acceptable online. She goes to her friends. She looks at television and says, well, they do it all the time. They're underage. It's fine. They have been taught by culture instead of taught by a church that loved them. Church, it's time we pick the mantle back up. Because we were commanded, not suggested. Titus didn't suggest, hey, if you feel like it. Hey, if you're not too busy. Hey, if you get done with your service and there's still a little time left. Hey, if your week isn't too crazy and if you have just an extra second. And I'm not just talking about your kids. So if you're not doing it at home, start there.
Yeah, that's right.
If you've been failing your kids at home, start there. But it's also about the way we think about them. It's the way we think about a generation. It's the way we present ourselves to a generation. It's the way we actually show up for a generation. So how do we be real? How do we do this? How do we train? And if you haven't listened to Reggie, you really should, because I stole some things from him. This is actually in a book he wrote, and I read it, and it changed the way I thought about some things, because I thought just being there was enough. So step one is to show up physically. You have to actually be present. You can't do anything if you're not there. And it could mean volunteering. It could mean being with your kids and their friends sometimes and saying, hey, let me take you guys out to ice cream. I just want to talk to you guys. I just want to know what's going on in your life. I remember ice cream days. They were fun. They were good times. Mainly because I got ice cream, but it's okay. But you have to do it. And you can't just think, oh, it's too late. It's too late. Oh, woe is me, it's too late. It's so sad. No, do something.
Yeah, that's right.
So then you have to show up mentally and emotionally. Because if you're not there with your mind, they can tell. Yeah. You know what it's like having a conversation with someone and they're not there. I do it all the time. I'm really bad about it. And this isn't part of this, but I sat in an Orange conference, and one of the things that I loved is they said, if everything you're talking about is about you, then you're still not there emotionally. Because if you're not listening more than you're talking, then you're there for you. And the last thing is this: show up constantly, continually. You can't one time be like, got it, punch that card, I'm good. That kid's saved. Got it. It's trained. This one's trained. It's not even like a seasonal thing. Like, it's a life thing. It's about being there in the nighttime. It's about being there in the afternoon. It's about being there just continually and saying, I am in your life now. Deal with it. No, don't do it like that. These 3 points are from the book Lead Small. And we actually have to show up. Yeah. We have to be mentally present, and we have to be a constant present in their lives. We become real when teens know that they are safe, valued, and respected. When they are safe with you, when they are valued with you, when their time is valued with you, and when they are respected as a person, not as a younger thing that may one day be a person. That's when they know this is a good place. This is an okay place. I'm okay here. I can come to you and talk to you. I know I'm safe here. Because they won't talk to you if they're not safe. They're not going to talk to you if they're not safe. And be careful not to despise their youth. Because that's when they feel like they're disrespected. And they're not going to respect you if you don't respect them. We have a saying around here that it's honor up, down, and all around. We honor everyone who serves here, no matter their age, no matter their station, no matter whatever. You could come in here and be like, Lord, count somebody, and if you're serving, then you're going to be respected to honor the people who are serving with you. I don't know why I'm like, got Lord count over there, but he's my man. All right. So 1 Timothy 4:11 through 12. Actually, it's 1 Timothy 12. Or do I have 11? Oh, it's 11 through 13. Aha, gotcha. So it says this: command and teach these things. Let no one despise you of your youth, but set for the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and purity. Until I come, devote yourselves to public reading of Scripture, to, I always say this word wrong, exhortation, and to reading. Or to teaching. He's talking to the young people here. You guys should be setting the example for us. And if we give to you, if we help you create that place of that firm foundation, you will be. You will be. You'll take it further than us. You'll step out more. And you'll create the new example of what it should be like. We must make sure that we're not despising those younger than us in our actions, our words, or our expectations. Because those 3 things, our actions, our words, and our expectations, they create the atmosphere that they will respond to, for better or worse. And for a second, I want to talk to any of my younger people in the room. I want to talk to my teens that are in here. Zane was making eyes at me earlier because he was like, I'm not like that. And I'm like, I got you, Zane, I got you. So this is the thing, though. You will be told by media how a teenager is supposed to act. You will be told by your parents how a teenager is supposed to act. They won't mean to do it, but they'll make little comments like, well, you're just going through a rebellious phase. Well, you're just a teenager. I should have expected that. And they won't mean it, but it just kind of comes out because that's what they were taught. But let me tell you something. If you've given your life to Christ, rebellion is not normal.
Come on. That is so good. I gotta clap. Don't have to do it.
But here's why. Rebellion is a natural response to Adam. Humility is a natural response to Christ.
Amen. Come on.
Because when you were born again, see, we rebelled because we were in Adam's sin. But when we were born again, sin is no longer my nature. Right. Sin is no longer my father. Yeah. I have a new father now.
Yes. Yes.
And if you're like, well, that's a great point, but no one's ever done that. All right, when I was 11, I started watching my friends, and I watched the way they treated their parents. And I had a few friends in particular. I had one that always called her mom by her first name. And I thought, I would be slapped right now. What you talking about? I had another one who would so aggressively roll her eyes in front of her mother while calling her an idiot that I would have been on the floor. I love you, Mama. And I watched as they treated their parents with absolute crap, and that their opinion of their parents was absolute crap, and that they allowed themselves, they were so me-centered that they allowed everything that happened with their parent to be about me. And I watched as they came out of their teen years with the crappiest relationship with their parents. That there was a constant, it was an everyday struggle and fight. And I was like, I don't want to live through that. So at the age of 13, right before my birthday, I remember being in a service. And I had watched these friends, and I'd watched some people older than me, and I'd watched the fights, and I'd watched the situations, and I'd listened to the discord and the rebellion, because rebellion doesn't sit well.
No.
It doesn't. And I cried out, and I said, God, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be the thing that gives my parents heartache at night. I don't want to be the thing that we have to yell at each other every day. I don't want to be the reason that they're fighting. I don't want to be the reason that there's chaos in the home. And I asked him, I said, Lord, I want the easiest teen years that could ever happen. So here's what happened. When I was 13, I became a teenager. And at 15, may have been 14, I had the biggest fight with my mom. All right, you ready for this? Yeah. I had a jean skirt. And this jean skirt was my favorite. It came to right here, and I always wore leggings. So I couldn't understand why she was so mad about this skirt, okay? Always wore leggings. But she claimed it was too small. It was like from when I was 7, so it was too small. But I was like, I'm wearing leggings. Do you see this? I'm wearing leggings. But the thing about it is, my mother had told me to throw it away multiple times. My mother had thrown it away multiple times. And I had always rescued it from the trash. Somehow it ended up, Mom, I don't know how this came back to my room. I don't know. Mom, I fished it out of the garbage. I did. I think it was about 3 times that it had been thrown away, and I had saved it. And one time, I hid it in my bag, and I wore it to the beach with leggings. But see, the thing about it is, when I finally gave up the skirt and put it away and threw it away and mourned its loss, and it wasn't that I couldn't get a new skirt. It was just that was my skirt, y'all. That was my skirt. When I finally accepted that it was time to go, I let it go, and I stepped away. And that was the biggest fight I had with my parents in my teenage years. It's one of the only fights I had with my parents in my teenage years. I can count on my hand. Now, when I became an adult, I got a little sassy. And I had a few run-ins, but Mom was like, you're finding your independence, I understand, but you need to calm down. I stopped praying, y'all. But the thing about it is, and I'm not telling you that to say, oh, I'm so great. I'm telling you that so you can know it can happen.
Amen.
And the thing about it is, I did something that the Bible says it's very clear. It's a promise. And it's in Proverbs. And it says, trust the Lord in all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And in all your ways acknowledge him. And he makes straight your paths. He made the most hellish time for someone to be alive, their teen years, a straight path for me. Because I acknowledged him before I went there, and I said, Lord, I need you in this. I should have done it when I turned 20, but I didn't. That was a big mistake. But I'm doing it now. But if you stop and realize and say, I don't want that. Now, if you want to live in rebellion, that makes me question if you've met Christ. Because like I said, if you've been born again, your father is not Adam, and Adam is where rebellion comes from.
Amen. That's right.
I actually ran out of time. Oh my gosh, look at me. But I want everyone to leave here with something. I want everyone to leave here with something, and that's this. The church is called to be a real and active force in the life of the youth today. Amen. We're called to be a real and active force in every generation. And after this generation, then you've been called to be active in their generation. And after that generation, they've been called to be active in this generation. It's not an ending cycle. You don't hit retirement. You don't hit, well, I'm finally 20, so it doesn't matter anymore. No, you keep going because we are called. This church believes in synergy, and synergy means every generation.
Amen.
And the generations don't stop. Alpha is about to be born. We have been called and tasked with training them up and setting them on a firm foundation so that they don't have to go through what we went through.
Amen. Yep.
So I have 2 calls today. The first is this. Will you commit to being active and present in the lives of teens? And first, if it has to start in your family, good. Start there. Be active. Even if you don't change anything, but that when you're with them, you are actively with them. Yes, sometimes they can ramble about the silliest things that seem so life and death to them. That jean skirt was life to me. But it was important. And when my mother finally stopped and explained, this skirt shows you off in a way I don't want you shown, I had to recognize and identify and respect her decision. Because she respected me enough to explain why, not just throw that thing away. Also, I would have taken it out of the trash can, so. The second one is this. Earlier I mentioned that you can probably look back on your youth and see the thing that stumbled you. If you're still stumbling over that thing, God can redeem your time.
Amen.
He can redeem the foundation that was crumbled. Because it says he picked me up and set me on a solid rock. So the rock that he's placed you on, the foundation you're on, it's not the crumbling childhood. It's the solid rock of Christ. Amen. Now, if you haven't accepted Christ, and that's probably why you're still stumbling.
Yeah.
But he will redeem you and show you how to lead others into victory.
Amen.
I hope that his heart has been shown today because he cares so much. You didn't think your generation was special, did you? Because he cares about this one coming up too.
Amen.
And the one after that, and the one after that. And the song that we sing that says, all generations will sing of his goodness, that's because someone showed them his goodness.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if I can give you a cue, Josiah. I was trying not to be that person that calls your name. So, I'm just going to cue you hey, oh, Josiah, get up on the keyboard. Okay. There's a passion that you can find in his heart. And I accidentally stumbled into it. I didn't think that this was going to be where my life was. But I stumbled into his heart and I couldn't escape. I stumbled into his heart for that generation, and I couldn't get out. I stumbled into his love, and I realized there are people who don't know it. There are people who haven't met him, who haven't engaged with it yet. And my heart yearns that they would meet him, truly meet him. We started singing Good, Good Father, and I know some of you guys are just so tired of that song. Why can't they get some more words? But the thing about it is that song is what needs to be sung over them because they don't know. They have been taught a God of hate. They've heard all the stories about a God that just wanted to destroy and is so tired of their sin. And they have yet to meet the Father who is waiting with beckoning arms that wants to embrace them. up to us. It's so easy to pray, Lord, reach them, but are you willing to be the hand he extends? Because this church is going after it. This church is not settling here. This church is going to leave a legacy, and it's going to know that the generations to follow will sing of his goodness.